So we are going to look into how we can create a task in FreeRTOS. I have my project set up here, and I also have my skeleton main program. So the first thing that I need to do is include my FreeRTOS header file. So include FreeRTOS.h. And for creating a task or deleting a task and other task related utility functions, those are defined in a header file called task.h. So I need to go ahead and include that as well. So include task.h. Now I'm going to create my first task here. Task is like a function. It's a simple function. It needs to have an input parameter which is pointed to a void, and output parameter has to be a void. And there needs to be an infinite loop inside the function. And what makes this function a task is when we define it inside our main. I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and create my task function. So it looks like this, void, and we can give a name to this function. So I will call it my task1. So void start. Okay, and I have my infinite loop inside this function. Okay. Now if I want to create the task, or if I want to define this function as a task, then I need to first define a task handle for this function. So I do that by using the data type task handle underscore t, and I will call it my task1 handle, and initialize it with a null value. And inside my main, I need to use a function called x task create to create the function, to create the task. So x task create, and I have a bunch of input parameters here. The first one is going to be the function itself. The second parameter has to be a name to this function, so I'm going to call it task1. The third parameter is going to be the stack size for this function. So I will keep the stack size as 200. The next parameter is going to be the pointer, where I can pass in some input parameters. So let's say that I have a value, I have an integer, or I have a structure, and I want to pass it to this function. So this function can read it through this through this pointer p. So I can pass them here in the fourth parameter. But for now, since I don't have anything, I'm just going to just leave it at 0. The next parameter is the task priority. So the task priority, it starts with 0, and then you can increment it, as 1, 2, and 3 until it reaches the maximum priority. So the lowest priority is defined as 0, which is task idle priority. And this macro, this preprocessor variable, is defined in FreeRTOS.h, the config file. I mean. My bad, is actually defined in task.h. So I can see that the value of this precursor variable is 0. So it means that the lowest priority level is 0. So if I want to increase the priority level, I can just go ahead and add 1 or add 2 to it to increase the priority level. And the last parameter is going to be the handler. So if I want to associate this handle for this task, and that's what I do it here. So I need to pass on the address of this handle. So my task1 handle. So now I have this handle associated with this task. So I've created my task here, and the similar way I can create multiple tasks. So I need to create a task, create a handle, and I need to declare them inside my main using x task create. So once I'm done creating my task, I need to start the scheduler, and I do that by using a function called vtask start schedule. So vtask start scheduler, and once I use this function, it's going to start the scheduler, and this task is going to start running. Now what I want to do inside my task is I want to print hello world every 1 second. So I'm going to write the statement printf hello world, and I'm going to have a delay. Now the delay function that I'm going to use is vtask delay, and I'm going to use 1000. So this will give me a 1 second delay. Just for you to take a small note on this, the vtask delay input parameter is not milliseconds. So this 1000 that you see here, it is not milliseconds, but it refers to the number of ticks. So you can see here it says that okay, vtask delay, the input parameter is x ticks to delay. So 1000 ticks will give me 1 second, because right now if I look into my FreeRTOS config file, I can see that my clock rate is 1000. So it means my period is 1 milliseconds. So 1000 periods, 1000 ticks will give me 1 second delay. But I'm going to talk more about the delay function in the later videos. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build this program. Okay. So there you can see the output. It's printing hello world every 1 second. So that's how you create a task. Okay, now talking about passing the parameters, let me give you an example. I'm gonna hide this for now. Okay, what I want to do is I want to print a number next to hello world that increments every 1 second. So I'm gonna start with the variable count 0, and here I'm going to print the variable. So multi count plus. I have a spelling mistake here. Okay, so count plus plus. So what this is going to do is it will print hello world, but with the number next to it that increments every 1 second. But I do not want to start with the value 0. What I want to do is I want to pass in a value from my main. So let's say I want to start with the value 25. So int my start value equals to 25. So I've created a variable, and what I want to do is I want to pass this integer that can be read by this task through this pointer p. So I'm going to do that right here. So I passed my value. So if I want to read that value here, what I need to do in my task is I need to first do a casting, because the value is an integer but my pointer is a pointer to void. So I'll do the casting and then p. So now what's going to happen is it's going to take this value 25 and set the value and count. So let me go ahead and let me build this program. Okay, so I'm going to reset the board here and you can have a look. So it starts with the value 25. It says hello world 25 26. So that's how we can pass on parameters when we are creating a task. The other way is you can use global variables. I mean, that's totally fine. You can create a global variable and then you can pass in some values. But yeah, this is just one of the ways. If you do not want to use this for parameter to pass in some values, you can just give a null value to it. Really does not matter. Now another thing that I want you to see is how you can delete a task. Now task can be deleted by another task or it can be deleted by itself. Now what I'm going to do here is, since the count value starts from 25, what I want to do is I want to delete the task once it reaches the value of 30. So if count is equal to 30, then I want to delete this task. So how I do that is I will use a function called vtask_delete, and inside my function I need to say okay, what task or which task I want to delete. So since I want to delete the task 1, I need to give in the handler for this task. So the handler for this task is my task1 handle. So I'm going to use that. Okay, why is my PC hung up? Okay, don't hang up. Okay, it's fine now. Okay, so I'm going to delete this task. So I'm going to use this handle here, and this will delete the task itself. So it will delete the task itself. So let's go ahead and let's see how this program will run. Okay, building is done. Okay, so So I'm going to bring the terminal here. Okay, so I'm resetting the board, and you can have a look. It starts with 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and that's it. I mean, once it reaches the value of 30, it just deletes itself. So this is how you can create a task in FreeRTOS. You can delete it. You have seen how you can pass in parameters, when you're creating the task, and you have seen how you can start the scheduler as well. So these are the basics of FreeRTOS.